Assassin's Creed 2 came out in 2009. Why am I starting with Assassin's Creed 2 and not 1? Because 1 didn't want to launch.
Why do I even have this for?
Assassin's Creed 2 is really where the series started though. Where Assassin's Creed 1 had really good concepts, the second game was when the series took those concepts and really set out to make something special. Now there's really 2 stories in Assassin's Creed. One set in modern times and the one set in the late 1400s during the Renaissance in Italy. How, you might be wondering? Basically, Desmond is in a machine called the Animus and allows him to not only relive his ancestors' memories, but also bleed into his own abilities.
I wonder if that works. See, I've played like 5 of these games. You know, I should have the bleed effect. I'm gonna go out there, become an assassin, just like Ezio.
Assassin's Creed 2 begins with you escaping from Abstergo by an undercover assassin, Kristen Bell. Okay, her character is Lucy Stillman, but still, Kristen Bell. You escape and join a team of Sean and Rebecca. They explain the bleeding effect, and you go off to relive the memories of your ancestor. Sonic the Hedgehog. Batman. Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Probably didn't say that right. Played by Roger Craig Smith. Man, he has a lot of different roles out there, huh? Right away, you're going to notice a lot of changes compared to the first game, which I will get to play right when I figure out how to fix my computer. Ezio is young, charismatic, and you begin the game quite literally with the beginning of his life.
Listen to him. A fine set of lungs.
You pretty much watch him grow up and become a man. The story starts with him getting into a scuffle and then lead into a lover's house.
Fine, but only for a minute.
A minute is all I need.
Indeed.
God, I wish that was so relatable.
I'm here for the sex.
Fast forwarding past the prologue, and the story really begins with his father and brothers getting framed for treason. But before your little brother gives you a mission to find some feathers.
I want those feathers.
100 of them. And he's not even alive to see you collect all of these. Ezio finds his father in jail and talks to him from the outside. This is where he gets his infamous white hood and hidden blade. A fun part of this is that he's working with Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, that Leonardo. Without him, Ezio wouldn't have a lot of his gadgets and wouldn't have the hidden blade. They trademarked the series where an assassino sacrifices a finger to wield his weapon.
Now all that's left is to remove your ring finger.
And then Leonardo alters it so he has a finger.
Though the blade once required a sacrifice, it's been modified. You can keep your finger.
I had to get it reattached.
After doing an errand to try and save the family fails, all the males of his family are executed by Alberti. I'm not gonna pronounce all these names right, just giving you a heads up. Just like that, the character that you watched be born, the character that was young and immature, is now the man of the family and has to go from a young, immature adult to taking care of everything.
The Auditore are not dead! I'm still here! Me! Ezio! Ezio Auditore!
Ezio does get his revenge on Uberto. He flees and he runs into his uncle, Mario.
It's me, Mario!
For real, this is the same voice actor and characters this time.
It's me, Mario!
This is really when Ezio starts to train and become an assassin, and he begins to hunt down the rest of the men responsible for his family's death. And from here, the story kind of slows down a bit. You're always learning new techniques through his allies, and always getting new equipment through codex pages and whatever else you give to Leonardo. The story of the game is kind of hard to pin down. There's a lot there, and there is a lot of characters that Ezio becomes allies with, and these allies are all really important to Ezio as he learns new things from them and continues to grow, but not a lot of it's too important in the main story. Even Ezio himself is just kind of done growing as a character in this game. There's a moment in the beginning where he's yelling after an assassination where Uncle Mario kind of teaches him what to do, but after that, his character arc is pretty much over. From here, it's just a revenge plot. Ezio kind of just goes to different locations from Forlì to Venice to San Germain. I don't know how to pronounce any of these words. Well, why am I even trying? He goes from city to city. There's also Rome. Rome is there. I can pronounce that one. Helping out the locals and meeting new people. He goes on a hunt going down a Templar line to get to Rodrigo Borgia, the leader of the Templars. He meets La Volpe, who's a thief. Save Lorenzo de Messini. Again, these names, I cannot pronounce. I can barely speak English, guys. Essentially, the ruler of Florence. You learn the poison blade from him. Maybe one of the least useful weapons in the game. Ezio gets in a weird random horse race to help find a boat. Wins the race and get ready for one of the most important characters in Assassin's Creed. Amelia! She races a horse, and then she rides Ezio.
It would be my pleasure, Ezio. Call me Amelia.
She helps him where he needs to go after he gets off, and as luck would have it, we see the main character of the game, of the series, Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo's about to leave, but Ezio isn't allowed to go. As luck would have it, another woman needs help. A woman is Ezio's next conquest, Caterina Ciferezza. Hopefully I said the last name right, because Caterina is pretty important. The main countess of Forlì, she helps him get one of the boats as a reward for saving her.
I'm sure she won't say anything crazy about her lady parts later.
They arrive at Venice, and one thing leads to another, and Ezio meets Rosa and Antonio, who are the main mission givers here, and they teach Ezio how to jump higher in the building. This is absolutely a huge thing for the game. Being able to leap higher is so important, the free running aspect of this game. After assassinating the main guy there, who was basically terrorizing the area by extorting money, he then uncovers the plot for the murder of the Doge, and replaces him with his cousin. It was happening that night with a bunch of security. So they find our main character Leonardo again, who has a prototype of the flying machine. While the plan to prevent it almost worked, Ezio was actually too late and actually got blamed for the murder. This is probably where we get to my favorite part of the game. After using a codex to get the hidden gun, Leonardo gives Ezio a mask to hide his identity just in time for the Carnival of Venice. He meets Sister Teodora, who is the director of the brothel there. She told Ezio that the new Doge would be having a party outside the night of the carnival. All those who have a golden mask can get into the private party. And you need to win a bunch of different games to get to the mask, win a race, play and capture the flag, fill enough the ladies to get ribbons from them, and in the finale, a fist fight where those in charge are beginning to realize who he actually is and what is actually happening here. And despite winning, they still give it to someone else.
The winner of the Golden Mask is Dante Moro.
And despite all of that, Ezio ends up stealing the mask anyway from the winner. So everything you did was basically for spectacle than anything else. You shoot the man and you go back to spend the night with the courtesans. And then the new Doge is the guy's brother, but he's not a part of Templar, so it's all good.
I'm sorry for the loss of your brother.
He had it coming. He was bought and paid for by the Borgia. A mistake I have no intention of making.
And this leads into the next section of the game where you build an army with Bartolomeo.
Damn time! I don't know if I should kiss you or slap you. Maybe both, just to be safe.
This character is fun. He's loud, he's not very smart, but he's very aggressive.
Oh, my darling. Thank God you're all right. Ezio, meet Bianca. Bianca, Ezio.
Charmed.
Basically, someone who's all about brute strength over strategy, and he usually succeeds. I'm all for this. But Ezio doesn't really succeed at this part. See, the Doge stuff is really a distraction, and he doesn't really learn anything. All he knows is that the ship he needed left, and nothing he can really do. Fast forwarding a bit, and now Ezio is 29 years old. Yeah, all this has happened throughout his entire life, and a lot of the plot points kind of all just come together at once now. Rosa tells Ezio that the ship is returning, Leonardo discovers that the codex page has a hidden message, and he puts stuff together to learn that the piece of Eden is on the ship, and Borgia is planning on opening the vault with the prophet.
Huh? I feel like the story at times is, well, it's kind of hard to follow. See, it starts out as a simple revenge plot, and now it's this. And it just kind of gets thrown to you all at once.
Ezio finds the box and disguises himself as a courier that leads directly to Rodrigo. However, there was no prophet. Instead, Rodrigo says he is the prophet, and thus a duel between Ezio and Rodrigo begins. Ezio's allies Volpe, Antonio, Mario, Bartolomeo all arrive to help. And Borgia runs away, leaving the piece of Eden. And instead of running after him, the courtesans arrive and join and tell Ezio to not go after Rodrigo. This is where Niccolò Machiavelli shows up and tells Ezio that the prophet, well, it's Ezio. Personally, I think it's my boy Leonardo, but whatever. Turns out, over the decade and the last 29 years of his life, all these allies were guiding Ezio to become a part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. And this is where he is initiated, after branding his finger and doing the leap of faith. So this next part is actually DLC, not stuff that released with the game, but extra chapters meant to, I don't know, pad the game. Not too much crazy happens here. Nicola says that the Eden is to be held by, of all people, Caterina, and Ezio, the horny dog that he is, remembers who she was when they met 7 years ago, that one time involving the boat, and he goes with the apple. They meet right outside the city, and being escorted to Forlì, Caterina talks about assassinating her husband.
Now that's a normal conversation.
Turns out he was a Templar, I think, I don't know. They get to the city, and the brothers that assassinated her husband are now being hired by the Templars to find a map. They also captured Caterina's children, and in response...
You think you can threaten me? I'll give you nothing! You want my children? Take them! I have the instrument to make more!
Well, who could have seen that one coming?
You know, it turns out she actually said this in real life too. Also, this is one of my most popular YouTube shorts. So a lot of stuff happens here. There was a plot to steal the apple. Ezio stops it but loses the apple anyway to a regular old monk. And this leads on to the next DLC.
This one sucks.
Basically, you got 12 missions. You can do them in any order. The monk with the apple is slowly taking over the whole city. You take the city back, get the apple back, and deliver a really, really cool speech about his journey. Finally, we get to the end of the game. Those codex pages have a map of the world on it, even the part of the world that no one knew about yet. They learn where the vault is and come up with a plan to beat Rodrigo there. See, Rodrigo is now the Pope, and he was holding the mass when Ezio goes in for an assassination to end it all, and he just doesn't do it. Rodrigo counters and knocks him away with the Staff of Eden, and essentially kills everyone but leaves Ezio frozen.
Seems like a waste to me to not finish off your army, but hey, I guess Ezio did it too.
This kind of becomes a big old mythical fight until Rodrigo opens up a secret passageway. Another boss fight happens, well, sort of a boss fight anyway, and this is where Rodrigo's motives has finally been revealed. He thought God himself was in the vault and the pieces of Eden could be used to steal his power. Alright, right on. Time to finish him, Ezio. The moment you've been waiting for, to get revenge for your family. And he doesn't do it. He goes in the vault and meets Minerva, who has a message for Desmond. Yeah, remember him? The guy you're playing a video game of? The simulator into simulations kind of thing going on? He's had a few moments here and there in the real world, modern times, but nothing really important happens besides some slight bleeding effects. Well, Minerva was talking to him. Ezio is confused. Everyone in modern times are confused. She disappears. Back in modern times, Abstergo has found the gang and they have to quickly leave. Using the abilities learned from the Animus's bleeding effect, Desmond and Lucy fight off everyone and escape. And that's the end of the story.
Whew. You know, there's a whole lot of nothing in this story. But at the same time, I kind of enjoy it. It has a beginning, it has an end. The mid parts are kind of dull and kind of drag out, but they're good for, like, I don't know, video game growth? So why is this game held in such high regard? Well, that, my friend, is called nostalgia.
There is some really good gameplay and mission structure here. These things complement each other so well. The parkour gameplay, while at times can be a little finicky on what direction you're going in, and the AI can range from being stupid to just flat out unfair, when it works, it is golden. And man, it works for almost all of the game. And the missions do such a good job of keeping it open-ended so you can do whatever the goal is. How you want to do it. Want to use throwing daggers? Go for it. Want to go loud and forget stealth? Yeah, you sure can. You want to use the poison blade?
Why?
All of these missions are fun and the pace of them are so great. Sure, there are a few weird ones. I remember the first time I played, I hated this carriage one, and the flying one is a bit of a mess at times. And this whole chapter, seriously, what is up with this? So much of this game works for the most part pretty okay, and this mission that they added at the release, it's just awful. It's buggy and it's annoying and it's really long. Oh, and sword fighting combat? I mean, what is going on with this? You can get upgrades all the way to Altair's sword, each with their own unique stats, but what's the point? You can seriously grab and slice majority of the enemies in this game, and if you can't, mash a button a few times and then slice and grab. The upgrades all feel the same apart from your armor, which actually adds to your health, as does getting codex pages, which you need anyway to complete the game. Around the environment, you're going to find old assassin tombs, most of these being a scripted sequence or a parkour puzzle. When finished, you get a seal, and when you collect all 6, boom, Altair's armor. They're not too long, not too short, and they're extra, so you don't have to go and do these if you don't want to. There's also a bunch of smaller missions, such as courier missions, fighting missions, leveling up your city, but none of these are too important. And really, the city growing one is pretty easy. Now, I do think it's pretty funny listening to Ezio's voice. Throughout the story, his voice naturally changes from more of an immature kid to being an adult. But whenever he goes to upgrade some in the city, you hear young Ezio.
Buongiorno.
So presentation-wise, we got a bit of a mixed bag here. And keep in mind, I am on a PC here. Audio quality does sound a little bit off. Unsure if this is because of the times or it's just a weird PC port thing. I sure don't remember the audio quality being poor, but I am more of an audiophile now than I used to be. Graphics I think mostly hold up. I'm always a little weary of games around this era having too much overblown bloom, but this one seems fine, albeit it is a little dull, but I think that's the colors. Everything kind of looks washed out. It looks decent if you're not looking too closely. Apart from the draw distance, what is this, 2 feet? I got floating doors for God's sakes. The models switch between high quality and low quality. It's so ridiculously small, I'm lucky to not see a forest pop up. Apart from those issues, the game is fine. Models look decently enough. The world and architecture looks amazing. The world is lively. Maybe a little bit too lively. Seriously, what is up with these lute and guitar players or whatever? They really just want money, I guess, but they're everywhere! Musically, this game is great. I love the soundtrack. It can be subtle, but if you're listening to it, it can transport you to a different world, man. Overall, this game is a pretty great game. There are some nostalgia glasses being worn, though, and I don't think it's the best in the series, for example. But it is for sure a great starting point. You can almost ignore Assassin's Creed 1 and go straight to this game and be perfectly okay. This is where the series really begin to take off, though, and it is a little rough around the edges, and this gets cleaned up in later games. I would still say it is a great time to be had. I give Assassin's Creed 2 an 8.2 out of 10.
Now, it's time to put everything I learned from this game to the test. I will see you out on the rooftops.
Thank you for watching. Like the video if you haven't already, subscribe for more content, comment down below, and check the description for links such as the Discord.